Have you ever had to run a research study with a participant who wasn't a great fit? It's not a fun position to be in. It's kind of awkward, and worst of all, it wastes time, both for the researcher and for the participant. No matter what kind of research you plan to facilitate or who your target audience is, screening is absolutely essential to the research recruitment process. Sure, screening out participants might sound like an inherently exclusionary practice, but it actually helps researchers run a more inclusive study by reducing sampling bias in the recruitment process. Biased sampling can happen for a number of reasons. You could have problematic participants or professional testers who are more likely to both respond to your screener survey and potentially stretch the truth to make themselves eligible for more studies.
Are you a lumberjack? Well, I do wear flannel a lot. That counts, right?
Not only are dishonest testers an issue, you may recruit someone who's not at all interested in what your company offers and therefore offers little to no useful feedback. Or you could even recruit a fellow UX or UX adjacent professional who might be more likely to offer an expert review instead of a realistic user opinion. Each of these isn't ideal. To avoid wasted time in research sessions, use these 5 steps for effectively screening participants. Number 1, define your eligibility criteria. Who would you like to learn about in this study? Existing users, new users, users that our product or service is currently excluding? Identify and prioritize your target audiences, and think about what goals each group may have as they use your products or services. Try not to overly restrict your audience with non-essential elimination criteria. For example, while it might be tempting to find marketing professionals by screening anyone who's not in the marketing and advertising industry, this may inadvertently screen out all marketing professionals who are not in advertising or marketing agencies, meaning most marketing professionals in the world. 2, once you have your criteria, construct your screening survey. Screening surveys, or screeners, are questionnaires that gather information about candidates' experiences in order to quickly identify and prioritize candidates who are representative of your target audience and exclude those who aren't a good fit. Try to use questions that are open-ended or multiple choice, as opposed to yes/no questions, which can sometimes give away the study's intent. For example, do you play video games? Hints that the study might be related to video games, and someone might select yes, even if the last time they played video games was years ago. But a question like, which of the following have you done in the last 4 weeks, will make the intent of the study a lot less obvious. Number 3, pick your recruiting strategy based on your budget and needs. You can find qualified candidates in a number of different ways, and some methods are more expensive than others or require more researcher effort. A professional research recruiter can be a fantastic resource, but they're often quite costly, and they're not always an option if you have a short timeline. Check out my other video on recruiting methods to see which might be right for you. Number 4, adapt your recruitment and screening strategy as necessary. If you're recruiting more than one type of user at a time, you could attempt to use one screening survey, but there are trade-offs. Participants wouldn't have to fill out the screener more than once, which makes it more likely that you can find a sufficient sample size, but you could potentially end up with a really complicated branching screener. And you may ultimately have to do a lot more manual filtering just to ensure that you don't miss out on a qualified candidate. Which leads me to number 5. Review the survey responses of both qualified and disqualified candidates before you finalize your list of approved participants. To be clear, screeners alleviate some of the work of the screening process, but they don't entirely eliminate researcher responsibility to double-check the candidates, not only as a quality control measure, but you can also identify any close-fit study candidates that you may want to have as a backup if they've met most but not all of the screening criteria. If after all of this, you're still unsure whether eligible participants are truly a good fit for your study, it might be worth running a 15-minute screening interview so that you can clarify any unclear survey responses before you invite them to your actual research sessions. Once you've identified your participants, you're officially ready to start scheduling sessions for your study. The quality of our designs is only limited by the quality of our research. But if you're careful about your recruitment process, you can maximize your chances of getting the feedback you really need to make better design decisions.